Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
You see that with those two circle hooks? I'll take these pliers and I slide that. Look, I could slide right under that point, and yet I can't slide it under that one. That's because this hook, see how it's rattling around? That's offset. This one is completely inline, a non-offset circle hook. I'm Jim Hutchinson with the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. Important to talk about circle hooks because we sent that email blast out on Tuesday that you received. I got a bunch of phone calls and emails about it, but those two hooks, if you can see that, that's that inline circle, meaning if I hold that to you, hold that up to the camera, you cannot see the point sticking out. That's a legal hook. This other one is slightly offset, meaning the point, you can see the point, right? If I hold it that way, the point is away from the shaft. That's going to be an illegal hook. We're going to get all the final details later on in December, I'm sure, as the state of New Jersey in particular kind of gets things going with that. But starting January 1st, 2021, if you're fishing any natural baits for striped bass, that means live eels, bunker chunks, live bunker, herring, clam, worms, you're going to have to use the inline circle hook whenever you're fishing for striped bass. That's a coast-wide regulation. So what does that mean for the eel skin plug? Don't know. I'm not exactly sure. How about the rigged eel? Don't know that one either. We should find out, but I would imagine that if it's got a natural bait on there, you're going to need a circle hook. Again, the final regulations in New Jersey and all the coastal states, they have to be in place by January 1st. We just don't have all the details just yet. And of course, I mention that because that blast came out on Monday. Folks went over to thefisherman.com to take a look at that article from Toby Lipinski on how that spells out in terms of what needs to be done. Probably when you went to thefisherman.com this week, you also got hit with that pop-up. We've got a great special offer for the holidays right now to get your subscription to the Fisherman magazine. It's just $19.95. It's $10 off right now. That's for new subscribers, renewals. If you're giving a gift, it's a great idea. You can go to thefisherman.com, check that out. 2 years is just $38, right? Then you get the whole suite of services. You get access to thefisherman.com, you get the video forecast, you get the print edition. And of course, the print edition for December has that holiday gift guide. I've already dog-eared a bunch of pages, left them on the coffee table. Hint, hint, everyone. That's a great guide for you to take a look at some of the latest products that are out for 2020, including a bunch of new circle hooks. So be sure to keep an eye out on that. Bunker chunks, fresh clam, those are the baits that are working now if you want to dead stick some baits. And again, circle hooks are not required right now. They will be in 2021. But of course, you don't have to go with the baits. If you prefer to dead stick and sit back with a couple of buddies and watch for a bent rod, that would be the way to go. Fresh clam or bunker. But a lot of these fish right now up and down the Jersey shore are being caught on the artificials because these bass are chasing baits, especially the sand eel imitations. You know, the Avas, the Slim Waves, the Deadly Dicks, the Bill Hurleys, even the Deadly Dicks. I said the Deadly Dicks, the AOKs, but any of those silver metals, any of those tsunami rigged eels, for example, the Bill Hurley plastics, they're the ones that are working best, especially tied with a teaser. And I got to tell you, it's not just Ocean or Monmouth County, which of course has been the epicenter for this surf striper bite for so long, but I'm starting to get a few more solid reports from the southern half of the state, down in Atlantic and Cape May County. In fact, I received a nice email this week from Dan of the Aston Anglers. He said he had tried out North Jersey heading up into the days before Thanksgiving last week. A lot of small fish, a lot of small stripers, and hickory shad. But he said, quote, knowing that the big bass had to be moving on, I decided to stay closer to home, my summer home in Ocean City. Thanksgiving night, I worked the north end of the island in a north wind until about an hour before low tide, he said, when he hooked into something very good. It was right in the wash, so he was thinking it was going to be a slot fish. Boy, was he wrong. Disbelief, he said, when I saw this laying on the sand. 48-inch striped bass. And again, Ocean City. We're talking down into Cape May County, down into Atlantic County. What did Dan use? Well, I'm glad you asked, because Dan shared that with me as well. The Eel Eliminator Soft Plastic. That's what she hit. And Dan said he got that in his freshwater mystery tackle box. So, again, it's all about what those fish are eating in the wash, and it's good to see more. The plastics always migrated over to the salt. It started with the fresh with so many of those baits, And the same thing, they are very effective in the salt. But again, as Dan said, you got to be in the right place at the right time and get your time in. My friend Chris Madison continues to get rewarded in the Atlantic County Surf somewhere secret. He's not telling me, he's not telling anybody. In fact, he blindfolded the Wakefield boys this week, headed out to the wash in the Dawn Surf, and lo and behold, a nice size redfish caught and released. Is that beautiful or what? Redfish, don't forget, are measured the same way as striped bass in terms of the regulatory effort. It's either too small or too large or just right. Now, in terms of redfish, what's just right is from 18 to 27 inches. A lot of folks surprised by the number of redfish being caught in the Jersey Surf. It's a regular visitor this time of year. In fact, the LBI Surf Fishing Classic a few years back decided to add redfish to the list of weigh-ins because it's a good fall run fish. They used to call them channel bass. I think the thing is, this year, there are so many more people surf fishing that we're encountering more redfish. The other thing is, it's predominantly been in Atlantic and Cape May County in falls past, but this year we're getting more reports into the southern and northern Ocean County surf as well. In fact, the Surf Turkey tournament that was just run out of Charlie's Bait and Tackle in Normandy Beach over the weekend, well, they had a nice 26-inch fish weighed in for Martina Mojica, 6-pounder. She fishes the Surf Turkey every year. She comes down to fish the Jam Boys team. She comes in from Boston, and that's a great fish she caught there. Charlie said there were 100 anglers in this year's Surf Turkey tournament. Top honors went to Matt DePadaliera. Matt D. He turned in a 45.5-inch fish. Second was Joe Albany's 39 inches. So those stripers mixed in with the redfish, vice versa. Depends on how you look at it. Oh, those reds. There's another nice article. Again, Fisherman subscribers the last few years would have seen this one. It was Al Ristori's 2018 piece about redfish in our future. That's good info that you get for being a paid subscriber to the Fisherman magazine, but you can go find that article over at thefisherman.com. Sticking with the southern half of the Garden State for a moment, Joe Felipe said he ran his 260 BW Outrage Jay's Place out of Tuckerton on Friday with his kids, breaking Little Egg, headed off about 2 miles off Beach Haven, trolled the Manches and the Mojo double rigs along the bottom at about 3.5 to 4 knots. Joe said he had a great Black Friday, a few overs in the mix too. Said some 41 to 43-inch fish that had to be released. A little farther south, I heard from Captain Dave Ricci of Team Blue Eyes. He was out front at the south end of Sea Isle City over the holiday weekend. Dave said they found the bait, found the birds, produced fish in 39.5 feet of water, 55 degrees, called it an epic day. They threw back 540-plus fish, trolling the Mojos about 4 knots. Actually picked up his dinner fish while pulling the lines into the boat, so that's good. On that South Jersey tog front, doing the reports this week for thefisherman.com. Those still continue, of course. You can get those reports every Monday night over at thefisherman.com, but we checked in with the folks from Hands to Bait and Tackle. They reported that both the Cape May and Wildwood reef sites are seeing good numbers of fish, a few quality tog to about 6 pounds plus, some triggerfish as well. Also found out some porgies and also the sheep's head. In fact, Captain Nino Versa, Team Nino, El Nino, let me know that they caught this nice sheep's head 14-pounder out there that weighed in at Peace Token in Cape May, but that was taken while they were tog fishing out there at the Cape May Reef. On the other side of the Delaware, getting reports as well, Dave Ruda shared this one with me. He said his friends Bradley and Michael scored some nice blackfish on the ocean structure last week using green crabs. The folks at Lewis Harbor told me this week the guys are finding those blackfish on the reef sites in the bay, also the reef sites out front, and along the outer wall as well. Now, talking to the folks from Lewis Harbor, this is the time of year where I expect some of you Delawareans to start venturing out Delaware Bay, maybe nosing up north a little bit off of Cape May, looking for some of those Mojo stripers. We have not heard from anybody from Delaware heading out and catching any of the striped bass just yet, but we are expecting that report to start in, especially when I look at some of the earlier reports we just talked about. Those stripers are moving down the beach, and I do know of a bunch of them outside the line, but those stripers are starting to make their move, and it should be just a matter of days for you guys heading out of Delaware looking for some fish as well. While it might not be sexy and exciting to some, trolling with the umbrella is getting it done right now. A lot of stripers of mixed size piling on smaller, thinner baits, especially those sand eels. So the umbrellas, the niners with the small shads, or the tube on the tubes on 50-pound braid, or the lead core, or the wire line, getting it down deep. That's the way to go. It added to my turkey leftovers over the weekend, fishing with my buddies Brian, Mark, and Sean just outside of Manasquan. And again, it all pays to have a little bit of variety when you're going out there. So yeah, if you're going to have the umbrellas, have some shads, have some of the tubes, have different colored tubes. It might be the reds, it could be the blacks. Make sure you have a little bit of variety, because you never know what they're going to hit on. So put out a variety in your spread, put something in the mix, see what's working best. When you find out something that's working best, zero in on that. Again, it's also a good time to keep a light tackle outfit rigged and ready to go. One of the things we found while trolling over the weekend for stripers was every once in a while you get these fish boils right in front of you. So you're trolling along and those stripers boil in front of you. Saw quite a bit of that. Some of my buddies think they might be on smaller hake or whiting. It's almost like the tiniest of little fish. It'd be great if you had a fly outfit, ready to go. So as you're trolling along, and if you've got to throttle it back and get a fly out there in the mix as well. As my buddy Nick said, he shared this photo, it's almost like some of these stripers are filter feeding. They're on such small little baits and they're spread out quite a bit inside the line. When I mention inside the line, of course, you've got that 3-mile federal line. There is no striper fishing outside the line. I've talked to some guys who are out chasing tuna though, and 5-6 miles out, they say there's acres and acres of stripers boiling all over the place. It is the forbidden zone. Do not go fishing for striped bass, not even catch and release. It's a $500 fine for each fish. You want to be very careful on that. So hopefully this blow that we had at the beginning of the week, a lot of wind blowing, maybe that'll push some of the stripers in across the fence, bring them in close. And again, I'm hoping some of those sand eels will keep things interesting in close to shore with those stripers through the month of December. If you're looking for stripers and the winds and waves leave you feeling a little bit, I'd like to stay in close. Well, don't worry about it. We're getting some good reports in the back bays as well, the rivers as well. Dennis from Hook House out there on Route 37 East, he said there's quite a bit of striped bass in the Toms River. Had his first report on winter flounder too, but some of the guys are actually just dead stick in the bloodworms and doing pretty well on the striped bass. I wonder if Oyster Creek's closure a couple of years ago with that generating station, I think some of those stripers filter out more in the winter season. I think we'll have some holdovers, but you might want to look to some of those rivers. 8-year-old Christopher James was fishing on his dad's boat with his friend Brendan Deleme. The family was out there dragging eels behind Brigantine recently. Christopher had his first keeper of 29 inches on a live eel. That's behind Brigantine. And I'm finding out too, in addition to Christopher finding those fish, I know Dave Scholl's back there as well. He's throwing the Gulp Nemesis. He's throwing some of those plastics. And of course, if you can get some spot, they're killer as well. More from Central and North Jersey surf and a quick look at our weather forecast as well in 2 minutes. But first, let's check in with my friend George, the Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, this time of year, most guys, they're out in the woods chasing around some deer, trying to put some venison on the table. But a couple of diehard guys are still out doing some fishing, and a couple of them checked in with some great reports. Now, I want to talk to you about Nick Canestrid out on the Susquehanna River. He was out chasing some smallmouth and got into some real beauties. Now, Nick said he was actually catching these on some blade baits in 30 feet of water. Now, he says you got to be careful, though. Don't work them too aggressively. He says you're working them real slow, almost like a Ned rig. He says these fish aren't chasing, but if you do it right, you're going to pull in some really nice smallmouth like these. Thanks for that tip there, Nick. Now, local trout guy Eric Goodstall gave us some good tips. He's been chasing trout all over the weekend. He's been getting into some nice rainbows, some nice browns, and a giant brook trout that you see right here. Now, he says he's been catching a few on the fly, but they're really starting to hit spinners. Now, they're in the middle of that spawn. I think the brown trout have already spawned out. He said rainbows are kind of just starting. Just watch where you're fishing, but there's some great trout fishing as they move out of the main lakes and up into the tributary streams and feeder creeks. So get out and get on some of those trout. Now I got to tell you guys, I come across a article, or actually a local guy got a hold of me with Nathan Kurtz, and he was out in our local lake here on Beltsville and got himself into a 40-pound striper. Now this is a great fish if you're in the Raritan or out in LBI, but this is sweetwater, guys. These are local lakes here. Now he said he was out trolling large live baits at about 18 to 20 feet of water, and really slow, of course, and a big 40-pound striper hit. What a great fish. I am so jealous. I'd love to get on one of them myself. Hope you guys are out getting some. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
I'm still hoping to get George down here to fish with me in the surf this month. George used to make medals, the same jigs. He used to sell them up and down the Jersey Shore, the same jigs that are working now in the surf. Days like these. Sure, it's the swim shads, it's the SP minnows, it's the blurple swarters at night. The night shift is using some of those plugs and the needlefish, but by day, from dawn till dusk, periodically, based on the tide, based on being on the right spot, it is those sand eel imitations with the teasers. In fact, Donna Cotilli fished Island Beach State Park on Friday the 27th, fishing out at dawn on soft plastic sand eels. That was her first ever saltwater fish versus her usual freshwater fly fishing. That's what Michael Boyle said. Congratulations, Donna. That's a good fish. Again, those soft plastics are working, those sand eel imitations, and some of those sand eel teasers. Beechwood's Brody Tatashore, age 8. He caught his first stripers earlier this week up at the park as well. As Dad said, he had a blast. Can't wait to do it again. That's my problem, too. Every time I get out, I can't wait to get back again. There are a lot of hickory shad in the mix, of course. That's one of the things that's been driving folks crazy. I saw the Belmar crew, excuse me, they had come down to Island Beach over the holiday weekend. I missed out on that by the time I got down to Island Beach, missed out on the bite. But one thing Bobby Matthews had said when he was down at the park, he said the one thing he noticed is they had the hickory shad, and then all of a sudden the stripers moved in. So sometimes if you're finding those hickory shad, you might want to run away from them because they're bothering you so much, but if the hickory shad are in there, the bait is in there, so hopefully some of those stripers get in there as well. But Michael Catalina said he had a steady pick of bass and big hickory shad throughout the day on the Ocean County beaches, Lavalette to Island Beach around the Thanksgiving holiday. Again, teaser and tin combo was what was working for his son Dom. Although Dom, 14-year-old Dom, he came tight with a small white spark wooden metal lip. Hey, by the way, those hickory shad are fun to catch on light tackle, great on the fly. If you're bored, you want to head up to the inlet, catch some. They've been in Manasquan Inlet pretty heavy, I'm told. I'm sure Barnegat Inlet as well. Great on light tackle. They call them Jersey tarpon for a reason. But if you're looking for Jersey greatness, I will tell you this. The state record is 2 pounds, 13 ounces. That hickory shad was caught in Maniloking in 2011 by Robert Mazeka. So if you want to get in on that for you fly guys as well, maybe go for that state record on the hickory shad. I will tell you that the fall run at the Jersey Shore is far from over. If you're in the Southern Ocean County area and you had a good mix of fish, Southern or Northern Ocean, there's still more fish to the north. They're still coming down. In fact, I heard from Abraham Awanu. He and his family were out off of the Highlands. From Ambrose out in front of Sandy Hook, they were fishing with Captain Frank Wags of Fin Chasers, his boys Isaac and Walter. They got into some striped bass on the white umbrella rigs, but also beat up on a few gator bluefish. Would love to find out if some of those gators moved down the beaches as well. I mentioned that island, the Long Beach Island Surf Fishing Classic, the 66th annual contest. It goes through December 13th, and I don't think they have a bluefish weigh-in yet. One of these fish that Abraham and his boys Isaac and Walter caught, that would look great on the board down there in the LBI Classic. And again, those charter boats, those head boats out of Jersey, they are running for a variety of fish species right now and all through the month of December. Some are out jigging stripers. Others are heading offshore, well offshore for some of those humpback sea bass. They're also catching the tog pretty good. That tog fishery offshore, some folks are scratching away at some really good fish. Jimmy O'Donnell here, he works deck on the Lock and Load there, Nicky Barsa's boat out of Belmar, but they've had a couple of 16-pounders this season. So some folks are finding a good bite on those blackfish. And again, this action continues through December, those sea bass and the tog. You can check check the updated reports over there at thefisherman.com. Like I said, they come out every Monday evening with the latest reports. But if you're looking for a boat, you can also go and use the Book Your Trip feature at thefisherman.com. Get yourself on one of these great boats to get in on the action and leave the driving to someone else. And again, especially when you look at the weather forecast, sometimes we look at the swells and think, I'm not going out. Well, some of these party boats are still going out. You do want to check your weather forecast for the week. We do have a little storm system. We've been playing with the wind and the waves all week. I'm not a big fan of those southerly winds in the forecast on Friday and Saturday, but a few good swells are on the horizon as well. I do plan on putting some of my time on the beach between these wind fits. Hopefully I'll see you out there where you may find, if you find me, you're going to find fewer fish. I'm going to try to find those places where I like to feel comfortable. There's fewer fish and fewer people as well. I hope to see you out there. Tune in next week. We'll see how well we did with this week's forecast, but let me know how you did next week, and we'll report again here, the Jersey Shore, in December. The fall run continues right here at thefisherman.com.